Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about mounting one of these power supplies, which is the professional range, below one of either Pedaltrain Novo board or Pedaltrain Classic board. Now we are in 2017, where because these guys have been updated, and beforehand they had two holes here, now you have much more space, they are taller. And we have adapted to that, so the mounting instruction you are going to see here is for new models with new mounting brackets, a new way of mounting from 2017. Here I've got a brand new DC10, which I'm going to open and show you how to mount it on the Pedaltrain Novo 18. But the method of mounting any of these will be the same, no matter if it's a Novo or a Classic model. My very green knife goes here, and inside the box we've got a cable guide, which we won't use, some foam, a product sheet, which can be useful because we will use it as a little bit of a drill guide, and the power supply itself. Here in the bag we have all the cables, but there's also a little zip bag containing all the hardware we would use. And maybe you won't notice it, but below this foam we get a bracket which should be used for the mounting. Now you should start with attaching the bracket to the power supply. So I'm going to take out all the hardware we've got here. There's some screws, there's a key, a long distance piece, some silver screws, washers, 3 very small screws, and one which look like this. You don't have to remove the rubber feet for this mounting. And the new kit, the new bracket, is quite easy to see. It's got 4 large holes. So if you've got one of these, you've got one of the new versions. So now we are using the 3 very tiny screws to attach the bracket. There goes 2. The last one here. And then you've got this distance piece. And that one goes in the back hole here. So you should have it like this now, and we are ready to find a spot where to mount the power supply. As you see, the bracket is resting on this surface, and the distance piece, it might be hard to see, but it's resting on this surface. So, say you want it like in the middle, maybe you want it like here. This distance piece is not in the middle, so you should, if you want the power supply like here, you should go and mark approximately where the distance piece is. You can also mark it like there, so just you have an idea where it is. So remove the power supply, and I actually have a mark here. And now, the new product sheet has got a little mark here which is 11-12 millimeters from the edge. And we have to make a hole for this one around 11-12 millimeters from that side. So you either use this by placing it right here and make a mark here. So you can also use a piece of paper and simply measure 12 millimeters from the edge like this, and use this as a little template to have the distance from there. Once you have the mark, before drilling, I suggest you use a center punch to mark it properly. There we go. So we have the mark to make the first hole in the pedal board. So now we are going to go over to the workshop to make this hole. Okay, so we have the first hole drilled, and we can attach the power supply just by using this one single screw and using the distance piece. Here we go. So we have the distance piece here. This is the hole we made just before. And it's actually sitting in place pretty well already, but we have to secure it with these two holes. So I'm using a marker to make a mark of these two holes. There we go. And remove the power supply. So here we've got the two marks for another two holes. And again, I'm using the center punch, which is here, to mark these holes properly. And we're going to drill two more holes. Okay, we've got three holes made. One here, which we did as the first hole, and now we've got these two drilled. So we are putting power supply back on here. We use this screw to attach it to the distance piece. And now, as you can see, the holes are aligned. And we should use the rest of the mounting hardware. We've got two silver screws here, which are self-threading or self-forming. So we start with one of them. And you should use a screwdriver with a bit called PZ2. Other can be used, but this is the right one to use. And you have to push quite firmly to start with, and when the screw is actually going in, you can continue. And then you shouldn't tighten it too much, because the thickness of aluminum is not much, and aluminum is a soft material, so just a little tight and not too much. in case you have over-tightened these two screws and the thread in the pedal board is ruined, you can either make 2 new holes in these 2 spots and try again, or you can simply use the holes where the thread is damaged and use a rivet gun to attach the bracket to the pedal board with 2 rivets. It's mounted with 3 screws, 2 here, and the distance piece right there. As you can see, you have access to the main voltage selector switch and the dip switches setting the voltage and the fuse. Now, the mains power cord can be a little bit tricky to get in, so you get it in this way, and you have to, if you have too big hand, it can be a problem, but there you go, so it wasn't that bad. So this is it. Okay, the DC10 is mounted, and as you can see, one of the screws is on the top surface where you have your pedals. And that could be a problem, but if you use the supplied Velcro, what you do is actually you push it firmly here where the screw is, then you get a mark right here, and you simply cut this piece away so the screw is hidden in the surface of the Velcro and you won't have any problems with pedals wobbling on top of the screw. Okay, we have shown the whole process of mounting the DC10 power supply on the Novo 18 board, and as I told in the beginning of this film, that the same procedure should be used to mount any of these professional range power supplies. And the DC10 is actually completely similar to the AC10 and the Pussy Power in terms of mechanics, so I won't show anything about that anymore. But I'll show you how to mount the DC8 and the Chocolate. And here we've got the Novo board, here we've got the Classic, and actually there is not much difference in between these two. This one is a little bit deeper, but the back part of it is the same. So I'm going to leave this one here. Just disregard the holes I've already made here because these are for mounting of these. But here you see a DC8 with the bracket attached. And now it's the same bracket we use for the 10 power supply, DC10, AC10, as we use for the DC8. And it's quite easy to see if you got the new bracket because it's got these 4 rather big holes inside. So the bracket is attached, and this is a version 1.1, and we have this distance piece in the back. So this is also going to fit in the back. So the same way as with the DC10, you start with marking the hole for this distance piece. You drill this hole, you use a screw to attach it, you mark the remaining 2 holes, you drill them, and you mount it in the same manner as the DC10. With the Chocolate, it's a little bit different because here you've got 2 brackets. These brackets are also a little bit new, and they've got 4 holes here, and it's because when the Chocolate was released, I thought it would only be used for the Pedaltrain Pro, but I see that some users are also using it for smaller boards like the Novo or like the Classic, so these 2 extra holes have been added. You have 2 distance pieces, and again you have to have the distance of 12 millimeters from the back, but now the tricky thing is to get this distance right. And what you can do is actually, again, use a piece of paper to get the 12 millimeter and use a little mark to get the distance right from the back. And the distance in between these 2 is 107 millimeters. You have to convert it to inches. It can be like here. And be careful when marking these two holes, so you get 107 millimeters in between these two, and then 12 millimeters from the back. And then the procedure is exactly the same. You get it on here, you mount it with these two screws, and then you have two holes here and two here. You can use just one, but we suggest that you use actually two screws on each side, because this power supply is a little bit more heavy than the others, and it gives you a better fixture of the power supply. So I guess this explains everything, how to mount one of those professional range power supplies below the Novo or the classic boards from Pedaltrain. Thanks for watching, subscribe to CIOKS YouTube channel, and see you soon.